Hi, this is Rod, your real estate guru, and we are out on the land today. And I'm going to talk about building your business with raw land sales. This is a unique niche area to build your business with lots of listings. But there's a bunch of things you need to know, and now let's get to building your business. Okay, number one thing you've got to know when you're dealing with raw land sales is, because everybody's going to ask this question. Is it buildable? What does buildable really mean? Can you build? It means, can you build a house? That's what everybody's asking is, can you build a house on the land? Now, you could think about other things like, can you build a barn? Can you put a shop? Can you put a carport? Can you put other things on there? But generally when people ask, is it buildable? They're asking, can I put a home on the land? That is the most common thing, and you need to be prepared for that. So how do you prepare yourself for the question of, is it buildable? Well, first thing out of the gate is you've got to know the zoning, and you need to know what the zoning codes mean. I would give you a list of zoning codes, but the problem is every jurisdiction reinterprets them for theirself, and they change even within the state of Oregon or the state of Washington. The different municipalities have different interpretations, and they call them different. What might be C14 or B2 zoning is different from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. So that's not going to make sense for us. What you need to do is go in and to the building website of your municipality and download those building codes so that you can know at least the most common ones, and certainly know the one that you're getting ready to list. So zoning, number one. Number two, regulations that overlay the zoning codes. I'm out here in Corbett, Oregon area right now on some land, and in the Corbett, Oregon area, not all of it, but some of it is controlled by the Columbia River Gorge Commission, which is an overlay product to the zoning. So you've got to know, are there overlay products that may have additional restrictions for building a home or other structures? So that's number one. Number two thing that people will ask you as you're getting ready to build your practice on raw land. So raw land means it's never been built on before. The land is simply raw. It may have a fence on it. You can see fences back here, lots of trees. The land has value in a lot of ways. As an attorney, we talk about land having what's called the servitudes of land. I won't go into that today, but the servitudes of land are all the different things, the sticks in the bundle, all the different valuations that a land can have, and there's a lot of them. You see a lot of timber behind me right now, and the timber also may have a separate value. So number two, though, that your client is likely to want to know as you're building your practice is septics. What kind of septic is available for this piece of raw land? So if out in the road there is a public septic, we are likely going to have to use that. Rarely is there an option to have a city or municipality septic system in the roadway and be able to put your own private septic in. If they have went to the trouble of putting a septic line, number one, it's going to be a lot cheaper to go with the septic line. Number two, you're probably not even allowed to put your own septic in at that point. If it is a private septic means you're looking at some kind of gravity feed, sand filtration, low pressure system. These can range anywhere from around $10,000, $12,000 to $60,000. It really depends upon the system and what's going on. So knowing someone that can install septic systems and getting an opinion on this is going to be really important. You can do a little cheat around, a little secret here. A little cheat around is talk to the county and ask, what do the homes nearby, what kind of septic systems do they have? So you at least have an idea. All right, number three, power and other types of things that go along with power. Is there a power stem currently on the property? Well, that would be nice. Power can be quite expensive to bring in. People ask all the time, how much does it cost to bring power in? Well, it can be huge range, kind of like the septic. It can be $5,000 to $50,000, depending on whether you need to bring a power pole in, a transformer, dig a ditch, bury it, bring it in. If the power is already in the property, your property is going to be more marketable and it's going to be worth substantially more. Hopefully, if they trenched it and brought the power stem in, they also brought in a cable line for internet and phone services, maybe a separate phone line. Even though that's getting less popular now, but still depends where you're at. Is there a cell phone service in the area? In this area, cell phone is very low in signal. So many people still rely upon a physical phone line, but not entirely. So next question, number 4, we're moving on. As we're building your practice in raw land sales, water. Water's big. Now, just because you have other utilities like power sitting out in the roadway and maybe there's a power stem on the property, does not mean that you're going to have water. If you have septic, a public septic system, you are likely to have a public water system. They almost always go together. However, you have to check and see, do you have water? If you have water, that means you either have a public or a private. If it's private, it's going to be a well. And if there's a well on the property, do you have a pump house? So 2 different things. People that have never dealt with land like this or raw land pieces don't think about this. They just think about turning the faucet on and here comes the wonderful flow of water. However, if you have a well on the property, the well has to have a pump house. And the pump house is what brings it out. The well is the shaft. It goes down to the water table, which may be 70 to 150 feet away. Can be a lot more than that, by the way. I mean, certainly there are 300-foot wells, but they get very expensive. Common in our area would be 70 to 150, 180 feet, something like that. But you'd have to take a look in your area to find out what are those wells running. Wells, cost-wise, often can be $10,000 to $40,000. Again, it depends on the depth of the well and how much water is coming out of it. Most banks require 5 gallons a minute minimum. Now, if your well's only pumping 1 or 2 gallons a minute, it doesn't mean it's a complete no. It means you're going to have a large surge tank, because that well needs to pump and keep that surge tank maybe 1,500 gallons, 2,000 gallons of water available for the homeowner to use, so they have enough water at all times. If it's above 5 gallons a minute, generally surge tanks don't have to be put into place. So water, a big topic. Nobody's going to live on that land without water. Water, septic, power. Those are your 3 really big concerns. Of course, the top one that we started with was, is it buildable? And starting off with zoning. Regulations. Are there any overlaying regulations to the zoning? Next, I want to talk about the value of the land itself. Raw land can be very difficult to value, and this is where your expertise and you earning your money really comes into play, because it's difficult to price a piece of raw land. Of course, you're going to do your research. You're going to find out, what did other pieces of raw land go for in the local area? But let's not forget the timber. The timber on the land has at least 2 valuations. One is an aesthetic value. Isn't it wonderful to have the trees around? It's terrific, and you don't want them to go away necessarily. But if there's a lot of timber on the land, the timber itself may need to be valued to be removed from the land. Number 1, you have to have area to put the house and the barn and the shop and all the parking lots and all that stuff. Number 2, there just may be so much timber on the land that it would be ridiculous to overlook that value. That valuation is called a timber cruise. A timber cruise, there are specialty people that are involved in this. You'll need to Google it and find someone in your area that does a timber cruise, and that is the value of the timber on the land. Again, not forgetting there's at least two ways to value that timber. One is aesthetic purposes, and that aesthetic means it's pleasing to have it on the land with you, and you don't want it removed. Nobody wants to move out somewhere and have just a barren piece of land with nothing on it. However, too much timber, there's no space to build anything, so you may need to have some of it removed, and you'll need to find out the cost effectiveness of having that removed, and is there value in simply selling it to a logging company, a timber company. All right, let's build your practice in raw land. We have a lot more to go on raw land sales. We'll do it in upcoming videos. I am your real estate guru, and I'm here to help you build your practice with direct one-on-one coaching. Give me a call, your real estate guru. Thank you.